Welcome to Table Bible Studies with Den and Ben. Table Bible Studies are posted every Thursday. Dennis and Benedicta are studying the Apostle Paul. They pick up in Acts 18, where Paul is in the Grecian city of Corinth.
This is Paul ministering at Corinth. Now, Corinth was the big capital city of Greece. So he's in Greece right now. We talked about different areas where Paul ministered.
Right.
And it's almost never Israel. It's always north of Israel or northwest of Israel. Now it's in Greece. He's not in some little village. You know, we've ministered in Africa in a lot of villages. Paul was not in a village here. He was in one of the biggest cities of the world, Corinth. And when you read his letters to the Corinthians, these are believers that live in Corinth. And there was a lot of wildness in Corinth. It was considered a very sexually immoral city. And even the believers, it took a while for them to kind of settle down and really learn the ways of Christ. But he goes to Corinth, and it mentions a group called Aquila and Priscilla, but we're going to skip over that because it doesn't really relate so much to Paul. But at one point, the Bible tells how Paul, this is verse 7, chapter 18, verse 7, he departed. He entered a house of a certain man named Justus who worshiped God. And it talks about Crispus, the ruler of the synagogue, believed in the Lord with all his household. And many of the Corinthians believed and were baptized. Now, this is a big deal. The ruler of the synagogue is kind of like the pastor of the Jewish center of the town or the city. So when you get the ruler of the city, it'd be like getting the pastor saved. You know, you've really reached somebody. And he's going to have a lot of influence on others. So Paul gets a major victory here, getting this synagogue ruler born again. And his whole family give their life to Christ.
Well, if it's, about the people that have kings, you'll be like you get into the city or in a big town, and then you get the king saved.
Yeah.
Or their, mayor saved.
Right.
That would be a big thing.
Big thing. And then we have a interesting little revelation that Paul gets from Jesus. You know, Paul had visions of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And his life was a supernatural life. I mean, he laid hands on the sick and they were healed.
Yeah.
Miracles happened, and Jesus talked to him sometimes.
Yeah.
So you can't get around that. I know a lot of people today would like to suggest, well, yeah, that was true for Paul, but it's not true for us. Well, not at the same level.
Yeah.
You know, we don't walk at the same level as Paul, but in our own small way. If you have no supernatural insights, revelations, dreams, nothing from God ever supernatural, it's all been just natural,
Yeah.
I'd say something's a little wrong. God has been leading me supernaturally, not a lot, but in my own little way here and there.
Yeah.
He's done it, and I know that's true for you. We wrote a book about it, and I helped you write your autobiography. Anyway, here's a supernatural vision of Jesus. Verse 9, the Lord spoke to Paul in the night by a vision, don't be afraid, but speak. Do not keep silent.
Yeah.
Well, you got to love it when Jesus tells you don't have to be afraid. But what that implies is you could be afraid.
Yeah.
Maybe you are afraid, but don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Yeah.
Now, here's what Paul must have especially appreciated. Verse 10, I'm with you, Jesus tells Paul, and no one will attack you to hurt you, for I have many people in this city.
That's a good one.
Paul was getting beaten and chased out of cities and attacked. And Jesus says, now, Paul, just slow down a little bit here. You're not going to be attacked. Nobody's going to beat you. I've got a lot of people in this city. In other words, a lot of people that I know are going to come to me if you'll stay here. So what he seems to be saying is, Paul, I want you to take your time here. A lot of times he'd just be there for a few weeks and then people get stirred up and off he'd have to run. He's like, Paul, just slow down. You're going to stay here a while. I've got a lot of people I want you to reach. And I'm not going to let them hurt you. Boy, if I was Paul, after all the misery he had suffered and all the attacks and the stonings and the beatings, I'd be like, Lord, I'm ready to stay here a good long time. If you say they're not going to attack me, I'm here for a while.
I'm good.
And that proved to be exactly the case.
It's really interesting that before he, started, Jesus already let him know, you're going to go through so many things.
Yeah.
And then we have read some of the things he went through. And now God himself, Jesus knew that he is afraid. He's gone through so many things,
Yeah.
and now he's afraid.
There's no use telling someone don't be afraid if they're
you
not
don't know.
afraid.
Yeah.
But if they're scared, that's when you say, now don't be afraid.
Right. So it's only somebody who has noticed that you are afraid that will come and be like, don't be afraid.
Right.
So Jesus have known that this guy is afraid now. He has gone through a whole lot of things in the hands of men and women, maybe men, not women, men. You know?
Well, you never know about some of these tough women.
No, not women,
no,
men.
Not women. But I lost my head. Go ahead, sweetie. Finish your
Has
thought.
gone through a whole lot of things in the hands of men. Now he's scared.
Yeah.
You know, running all over the place.
Right.
And now Jesus comes to intervene. Like, I know you're scared, but don't be afraid.
Yeah.
You know, don't look at everybody as people who have come to attack you.
Yeah.
Don't look at people, everybody you see is, mean and ungodly and, ready to smack your head. So you calm down. I still have some people in the city.
Lots of people. He said, I have many people here.
Many people, here. So only God knows. This is so good.
Yeah.
God knows who is who. No matter everybody may be pretending I'm a Christian and then at the back you're doing some other things, God still knows who is doing what.
And not only that, but he knows the ones that are going to get saved.
Yeah.
They're not yet saved, but he looks at them and says, these are my people.
Yeah.
It's just going to take a little time, a little Paul preaching.
For them to
and they'll come.
get saved.
So I got a lot of folks here.
Yeah.
So
it's like there are some people that will be for you, that will come to you, that will be nice to you, that will, make you, stay like feel comfortable around here. So you don't have to be afraid and get running. When Jesus wants to save some souls around the city and then, somebody is around and then because of one or two things, you are running out of there. Jesus will be like, hey, we have not saved some people here. We still got some work to do up in here. Where are you going?
Well, I can picture after this vision Paul gets.
Yeah.
Paul going out maybe the next morning and just kind of relaxing.
Yeah.
It's a nice, cool morning. He's got, not going to get a beating today.
No.
And I can stay here a while. Jesus tells me I should stay here for a while.
Jesus says it's okay.
He's got a lot of people.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to hurt me. I think I'll get me a cup of tea and just relax, put my feet up for a while, and then I'll start preaching, and I don't even have to worry. No beatings for me.
Yeah.
Now, that wasn't true for everywhere he went, but that was certainly true here in Corinth.
Yeah.
So Jesus had a big work to do for Paul. And, he was an apostle. He had that itch to keep moving, keep moving.
Yeah.
But in Corinth, Jesus is like, you just slow down. We got a good work, and we're going to see how long he stays there. So finally, there is a sort of a riot that comes against Paul. It says, when Gallio was proconsul of Achaia, the Jews with one accord rose up against Paul. They brought him to the judgment seat, saying, this fellow persuades men to worship God contrary to the law. So Paul's about to defend himself, and this leader, like a governor, Gallio, says, I don't even want to hear this. If this was wicked crimes, evil doing, then I'd listen. But you're just talking about religious stuff here. Yeah. And he just said, get out of here. And it's sad, but it's almost kind of humorous in this one sense. It says, verse 17, the Greeks took Sosthenes, the ruler of the synagogue, and they beat him. But it doesn't make much sense to me. You'd think they would have grabbed Paul and beat him, but they don't beat Paul. They go after this other guy. Why don't they beat Paul? Well, for one thing, Jesus said, nobody's going to hurt you here. So Paul was divinely protected. And even in a situation where normally he would have got a good beating, he didn't get it here. So it says he remained, verse 18, remained a good while there. Well, I don't blame you, Paul. You went through so much. Having this little vacation, relative vacation, not that he wasn't doing anything, but he wasn't getting hurt. Finally, he leaves and comes to Ephesus. So there he goes to the leaders of the synagogue and reasons with the Jews. They want him to stay a while, but he says, no, I've got to go to Jerusalem. So he heads for Jerusalem. He says, I'll come back, God willing. And of course, James tells us we should always say God willing, because we never know what God has for us.
Yeah.
So he goes down to Antioch. And then, this is the last verse we'll look at in this this particular study, but it says in verse 23, after he had spent some time there, he departed and went over the region of Galatia and Phrygia in order, strengthening the disciples. Now, this is his what we would call his third missionary journey or his third apostolic journey.
Okay.
But we get no details. The first two, we learn all kinds of things. We learn cities he goes to and what he has to endure and what he says and sermons he preaches. The third time, I think Luke is just tired of writing all this or something. He just says, well, he went all over the place.
Yeah.
And he strengthened the disciples. Now, what we do learn, he went to a lot of places where he'd been before.
Okay.
To strengthen disciples mean they were already disciples.
Yeah.
And he strengthened them. He edified them, encouraged them, taught them. And so at that point, he's on his third trip. And before long, we're going to find Paul is about ready to be imprisoned, but not quite yet. So that is our final thought for this particular session.
Yeah.
Some people are wired very tightly. When I was a kid, they had wind-up toys, and they had a little thing on the back of them. You would just twist and kind of wind them up, and then they'd go walking, along the floor.
I know it.
And if you twisted it as far as you could twist it, you wound it up, they'd go faster and they would last longer. And others, if you just twisted it like a one time or two, they'll just walk a little sharp way and they'll stop.
Yeah.
Some people are like that. It's like they're wound up not very tight. They don't have much energy. And they can just do a little bit and then they stop. That's all they can do.
Are you kidding?
They haven't been wound up. But with Paul, I can just see when God made Paul, he wound him and wound him and wound him and wound him, and he's wound up so tight. It's like for the rest of his life, he's just going and going and going and going and going.
Yeah.
Well, praise God. It takes all kinds.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I'm really not wound up all that tight. I mean, I love the Lord, and I've been serving him for 50 years, so it's not like I've ever stopped.
Yeah.
But I can relax, and I can just have a quiet season of my life, and it doesn't bother me that much. But you get the idea with Paul, he just had to be going and going and going until finally they imprisoned him, and he couldn't go anymore. And then what did he do? He started writing to Titus and to Timothy, and writing these magnificent epistles, a number of them from prison. Yeah. So if he couldn't go, he would write. But one way or the other, he was determined to serve Jesus.
It's interesting to know that even while he was going from place to place, the people who disliked him so much because he was preaching the gospel were all following him to the next place, kind of confusing the people in the city, telling them, what is not true about Paul. And then before you know it, a bunch of them will come against him. And then so many people will also believe in the God that he was presenting to them. And so it's really something that, the way we should pray, that the way Jesus came up, and encouraged him to be still and not be afraid or running all over the place. It is good for God to give us that kind of encouragement and give us that kind of relaxed mind and let us know, although we can read the Bible and find where it is that you shouldn't be afraid like that. And, even when you think that all hell has broken loose, what is going on? And then you'll be like, that, still voice will be like, fear not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me just close this with a thought from one of the painters of, I think it would have been 17 or 1800s. I think it might have been the 1700s. Well-known, famous artist. Okay. He painted all kinds of paintings. And in his old age, he got terrible arthritis. I mean, his fingers were just kind of curled up, and it was just painful. And yet he kept on painting, even when it was painful. Every stroke practically was painful to him. And by now he was well known, he had money. It's not like he had to do that.
Yeah.
And one of his friends asked him, why do you continue to paint when it's so painful? He said, the pain goes away, but the beauty of the painting endures.
Okay.
In other words, this pain that I'm experiencing while I paint, it won't last. I'll be done with this painting and it'll be gone. The pain will be gone, but the beauty will endure. You look at Paul's life, you might think, Paul, why did you work so hard? Why did you give up so much? You could have been almost anybody you wanted to be. Why, Paul? Why did you put up with such suffering and persecution and beatings? I think he might have said something similar. The pain goes away, and he's been in heaven now for 2,000 years. And you know he's not feeling sorry for himself.
No.
The beauty of what he did endures. It's endured to this day. Here we are talking about this man that lived 2,000 years ago.
That is something.
And the amazing ministry he had. And we'll get into the writings a little bit toward the end of this series. The beauty endures. And he's been in heaven with Jesus, worshiping and having a wonderful time for all this time. It's worth it for us as well. We're not Paul, of course, but in our small way, we want to serve Christ well and make whatever sacrifices we have to make, knowing that one of these days we'll be gone and we'll be rejoicing with Jesus. Spirit of Grace Ministries is about feeding the sheep of Jesus with the Word of God, equipping God's servants with wisdom and insight for effective ministry, and proclaiming the everlasting gospel of Jesus Christ. The two major platforms through which we accomplish these objectives are the creation of videos and sponsoring African missions. We need your help. We need people like you to financially support and pray for this ministry. When you make a commitment to support our ministry with a monthly gift of $25 or more, or an annual gift of $300 or more, we'll put you on our Friends of Grace list. You'll begin receiving monthly CDs, which normally feature 4 encouraging Bible teachings by Benedicta and me that will encourage and instruct you in the ways of God. Consider becoming a friend of grace and helping us to move forward in the mission to which God has called us.